Hi there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Prestige Liquids Live. So here we are again, coming to you live from your device, computer, phone, whatever it might be. So, first of all, let me just welcome you all to Prestige Liquids WW. As I've already mentioned, my name is Andrew. As always, it is fantastic to have you here with me again on another live review video. It seems like I'm starting to make a habit out of doing these. I've gone from not doing any live streams for quite a while, and now I think this is the third week in a row that I'm doing one. So, yay! Some more live screen action. Hopefully, today's video goes as smoothly as possible without any unfortunate interruptions. Just let's say, just like last time. Unfortunately, in the last video that I had done, I did get a bit of unfortunate spam coming through, but hey, live and learn. Now I know what to look out for. So let's just welcome Bourbon Baller. Welcome to the chat, mate. I think this is the first time I've seen you in the I'll say in the comments section before. So again, say thank you for joining in. But if you're up for it as well, please share your name in the comments. I'll love to be able to like get to know you and refer to you by name. So yeah. So today, as you may have mentioned from the title, I am going to be reviewing an Australian whiskey, and that is this sample here. I am reviewing for you the Corowa Single Barrel 242, or say Barrel 242. Um, Corowa is just one of those brilliant distilleries, or I should say one of many brilliant distilleries that we have in Australia. They are putting out some absolutely fantastic product at the moment. Uh, and they are definitely one that every Aussie, I think, needs to keep an eye out for. So unfortunately, this is a sample. I wasn't able to get a full size bottle of this, but I was lucky that a friend of mine was able to get a bottle, and they gave me this sample. But generally speaking, this is what a typical Corowa bottle looks like. Very simple, but also very, I guess, elegant and to the point. They generally have every bit of information that you need on there, starting from cask type, the distillation date, and also when it was bottled. Obviously, ABV as well. So, all right, let's close this, and come on, cooperate, and let's add that one. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't yet subscribed, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate all the support. Um, oh, another new face. Here we go, James Morgan. Uh, Welcome to the chat. Morning from where are you? Wow, morning from London, 7:10 a.m. and just having breakfast. That's usually what it's like for me when I am am watching other people's live streams from the other side of the world. Normally, I am having breakfast while also watching some reviews. So, okay, Bourbon Baller, Levante, nice to meet you, mate. It's fantastic to have you here as well. Okay, all right, close that. Okay, so a little bit of information. Before that, I'm going to just pour a little bit of this sample into my glass. Let it start opening up a little bit because this is a bit punchy in the ABV department. Now, I think this is kind of like one of those things that I'm going to start doing, I think, as often as I can. Obviously, we build up a lot of samples in our collection, and we don't always get through them, or it does take a bit of time to get to them at times. So I figured a good way of being able to get through a lot of the samples is just to do them via live stream. And since you don't really get much in a sample. I figured doing them this way, I'll be able to sit with them a little bit longer and explore them uh, in a little bit more depth than what I would normally put into, say, a regular review, by which time I've normally tried at, say, at least almost a third of the bottle by the time I get around to doing a proper review. So this time around, unfortunately, say this is kind of like a first of a series, so live sample series, and as I mentioned, this is the Corowa Single Barrel 242. All right, let's stop that. And a little bit of information. So Corowa, where is that exactly? So, Corowa, as I mentioned, is an Australian distillery. They are located in New South Wales, pretty much right down at the southern end of New South Wales. They border the Murray River, which, well, not pretty much, it is our longest river in Australia. Don't ask me how long it is. To be honest, I can't remember. My geography is not always that great. Um, this was distilled on the 15th of November 2017 and bottled on the 17th of June 2020. It was limited to 394 bottles, bottled at 55% ABV. It has been aged in American oak ex Jack Daniels barrels, and this is a peated whiskey. Now, I am not sure where the peat from this is sourced from. It could be local, but I have a feeling that it is most likely an imported peat. Most of the times we import from Scotland, usually Inverness. Um, yeah. So yeah, let's see, Levante, your comment. Ex Jack Daniels barrel should be very interesting. Yes, I was fortunate enough to be able to try some of this actually before getting the sample, and you're right, it is very interesting indeed. So okay, yeah. Before we get started, I better stay hydrated. And let's get on with this review. So, starting off, the nose is extremely smoky. I would say that the smoke influence on this is a lot more dominant than the actual peat. So imagine a very hefty combination of smoke and barrel char. Also, so let's kind of just get into that smoke. Well, describing the smoke, it's a very ashy, dry smoke, very campfire, and also a combination of cigar smoke as well. It's very leathery. It's a very dry nose. A lot of other, say, some of the other releases that I've tried from Corowa in the past, the noses are usually a bit more fruitier, probably a little bit more bright, whereas this is very dry. It's very, again, smoky. There's char, the barrel char, and I guess heavy oak. You definitely notice that dried out wood from the cask. So as it's opening up, you really start to notice the malt. And I say it's quite grainy as well. Like, think cereal grains, cornflakes. Uh, it's got a bit of a sweet rice bubble kind of note to it as well. Yep, actually, you're right, Levante. At the moment, as that smoke is starting to dissipate, you do start to notice some of the fruitiness coming through as well. James, the ppm, unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know the ppm level of this. But you are right in the sense of that it is a lot more similar to a Highland Park style peat, rather than a coastal Isla or say Jura Sky style of peated whiskey. You are definitely not getting that heavy saltiness to it. So let's try and pick out some of the fruits that are coming through on this. So apple, I'm definitely getting some light hints of apple, but what kind? It's more on the red apple spectrum. A lot of whiskies I tend to get more of a green Granny Smith. This is probably something more along the lines of like a pink lady or something like that. It's amazing how the smoke, oh sorry, the sweetness of the apple is making its way through the smoke. So it's kind of like, as you're say, imagine you're in an area where you may have unfortunately had a bushfire, or the local fire brigade has been doing backburning, and you get the all that smoky air coming through, and then the breeze comes along, and then you get that nice fresh clean air coming back through. So apples, pear, honey, barbecue apple. That's probably definitely a good way of putting it. Imagine trying to put some apples into your smoker. Actually, you know what? That is probably what it's similar to. It's like a mesquite smoked apple. It's amazing the like the I guess the persuasion that you can get when people start throwing ideas out to you. So let me just put this out as well. If any of you are interested in joining me on this stream, please feel free. I shall post a link in the comments, and yeah, if you like, please feel free to join me. Just know, however, though, I will only add you in if I can actually see your live stream coming up. Last week's video, we had some mishaps, and I'm not falling for that mistake again. So, yeah. Okay, so Levante, you said you've had that kind of note before. What whiskey was it that you had, or did you actually have a smoked apple? James, if you're willing to join in while having breakfast, mate, I'm happy to have you here. It's all good. I'm really yeah. There's that oily, that honeyness. No, sorry, that honeyness. Whatever. I can't even speak at the moment. What the hell's going on? So that honey note is really nice. It's got a nice sweet aroma that's complementing the notes of the apple and the smoke. This is also very leathery, very dusty as well. It's almost like, I guess probably the easiest way to describe this is like probably just stepping into like an old secondhand bookstore where you can just pick up those aromas of just like the hardcover books, dusty paper, musty paper. 'Cause who knows how long some of those things have been sitting around for. And it's also quite nutty as well. I'm getting quite a bit of peanut. Cashew as well. Touch of toasted or roasted almond. Now that sounds like a full-on breakfast of champions right there. Let me guess: sausages, eggs, bacon, baked beans as well, I hope. No, so you've had a Corowa before, mate. Where are you located, if you don't mind me asking? It just keeps there's it keeps opening up, but unfortunately, there's notes that I'm not sure what I'm getting. So I might. So let's just throw a comment out there. So for Levante and James, for those of you who are in the chat at the moment, are you familiar with Australian whiskies before, and or at all? And have you, I'll say, if you have been able to try any Australian whiskies, what have you had? Oh, okay, so you get it shipped, man. That can't be cheap. It's very expensive enough here as it is. And I'm surprised that you're actually able to get a bottle of Corowa. What do you remember which bottle it was that you were able to get? I've reviewed a few of them myself before. Yep. So mostly Starward. Yep. Starward is definitely a favorite. Yeah, Starward is definitely one of my favorite distilleries. They are putting out exceptional product. In fact, let me just bear with me. I'll show you one that I've just gotten. Wow, where did I put it? Sorry, I need to organize things a lot better. Okay, here it is. All right, so sorry about that. So, unfortunately, I'm not able to really reach the open bottle that I have at the moment, but this is the latest Starward that I've released, oh, that I've reviewed, sorry. And this is absolutely fantastic. This has got to be probably my favorite Starward release that I've had to date so far. For a long time, that title belonged to the bourbon barrel release, but this one has knocked it out of its position, and this is what I'm going for. So this particular one, as all, or I shouldn't say all of them. There has been an exception, uh, but this has been aged in what's it, in red wine barrels. Sorry, which was previously used for a very high end Australian Shiraz. And this is absolutely remarkable. So, guys, if you're able to get a bottle of the Starward Octave barrels shipped out to wherever you are, definitely get a hold of it. It is absolutely fantastic. Um, so you've had the Bosque Verde and the Mad Dog, mate. They are two absolutely fantastic whiskies from Corowa. The Mad Dog, I believe. Oh, so which one was it? The Now I can't remember. The one of them, the Bosque Verde or the Mad Dog, I think was released as a in a musket cask finish. Unfortunately, I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was. But this bottle here, the Corowa single barrel number 32, this is the single barrel cask strength version of that release. So whichever one of those was the musket release, this one right here is the single barrel version. This was meant to go into, I guess, the vatting for that particular whiskey, but they just felt that it was too good as it was, and they released it as this single barrel number 32. which I think after I've finished that one, I'll pour a little bit of this and do a little quick review of that for you as well. So now that this has had some extra breathing, let's see what else we can get. So it hasn't really changed all that much. I mean, not that you would expect it to change a lot in a matter of 2 minutes, but it's it's quite it's very earthy. So yes, very reminiscent of a Highland Park style release. So there you go. You're saying the Mad Dog was the Muscat cask release. Sorry, I'm going to be very unprofessional at the moment. Had forgotten that I was meant to be on a call before, so I better just tell this person that I will call them back. So bear with me for a minute. Okay. Please, please forgive my rudeness for that. Okay, so James, they do like the local barrels of wine to finish their stock, and they have the climate to mature it in good order. That's 100% right. Um, we do have an abundant amount of, say, wine cask barrels available to be used for whiskey production. And I guess a lot of people don't like that, especially down here. They do feel that a lot of these types of casks are used to hide what may be an imperfect spirit, but that hasn't been the case for what I've found of what I've tried so far. Pretty much a lot of the whiskies that I've tried, especially Australian whiskies that I have tried so far, have been absolutely fantastic. The quality of the malt comes through, the quality of the spirit is there, and the cask is, or the wine cask in particular, is there just to help complement the flavor of the spirit. So we're doing some incredible things down here at the moment. One thing that I would like to point out is that a little while ago I did review what I consider to be the worst whiskey that I have tried so far, and that was the Rassay While We Wait. Now that was or not was, it is a wine cask release, and that is truly a horrendous whiskey. That is definitely one that, if there's a distillery out there that needs to learn from the Aussies how to use a wine cask properly when it comes to whiskey maturation, it is that one for sure. That was truly horrible. But we're not here to talk about that. Um, let's move along and get on with the tasting. So Levante is saying that the wine barrels hide the youth in the whiskey. Look, mate, yes and no. From what I've tried so far, there are some that I can agree with you on that, and then there are others where, even with when you consider how young a lot of Australian whiskies are, uh, you still do taste a lot of that youthfulness there in the spirit. I mean, obviously, yes, it's going to hide a lot more in comparison to using like a second fill, say bourbon cask, for example. But you definitely still will notice a lot of that youth in an Aussie whiskey. But having said that, though, the oak influence and the intensity is going to be much higher than what you would get when you're comparing to, say, a Scotch, especially say like a 40 to 45% space side, for example, as well. All right, so let's move on to the palate for this and let's see what we get. So cheers. Oh, It's beautiful. It's intense. It's dry. It's spiky. Man, it is everything. It dances on your tongue. This thing is a bit of a beast. It is, let's say, cask strength, bottled at 55%. I am getting tons of white pepper mixing in with a combination of the more of like an earthiness that you get from black pepper as well. Um, what is the mouthfeel? Oh man, the mouthfeel just goes on for days. It's still, I mean, it's probably in what about 30 seconds already, and it's still there. You can still feel that dryness, the thick, and then it just evolves into this nice, beautiful, thick, syrupy texture as well. And then ash, tons and tons of ash. This is like Vesuvius level ash. It's it's all like all the ash is just billowing out of the glass, and it's just like coating my mouth right now. So I might get like those. Um, I'll be able to get like a plaster cast of my of my tongue now. Okay, let's get into this. Let's see what else we're getting. It's amazing how intense that initial sip can be, and then the second one, you're acclimated to it, and it is smooth as honey. It's so syrupy, so velvety. Now, yes, a prominent feature on this one, on the palate especially, is that dry, ashy, smoky note, and of course the peat. But this is where the fruits are coming out. The fruits that were hiding on the nose are there on the palate. So tons of apples, tons of pears, citrus fruits coming in now. I'm getting normally I'll get say like orange or lemon, but this is more of a nice, sweet, juicy mandarin. Uh, so imagine a mandarin that is again sweet, but it also has that nice little touch of sourness to it as well. Let's see what else. Lemon. I'll say the lemon rind. I'm definitely getting hints of lemon rind coming through. Maybe even a bit of like a grapefruit style. Fresh figs. It has the sweetness of fresh fig. What else? Honey, vanilla, tons of vanilla, and this vanilla is just riding in waves. It's dancing with the smoke. It's hovering around, and now it's changing. So from basic vanilla, I'm now getting like a vanilla ice cream. So imagine like a sweet vanilla ice cream. Um, it's quite bready as well. So if you imagine, say, something more along the lines of like a shortbread filled with vanilla cream, it kind of leaves you speechless. There's things that you want to say, but then as you drink it, you're left with, well, what do I have to say? The it's one of those ones where the quality of the whiskey, it just speaks for itself. Um, yeah. Sorry again. It's um, it's left me momentarily speechless. What else can I get? Um, yeah, honey. That's it. I'm getting quite so imagine the syrup that you get from a like a fruit cup. So imagine the say if you get like a cup of or a tin of peaches or apricots, the syrup that's in it, it's got that nice sweet syrupy flavor to it. Raisins are coming through, milk chocolate, definitely a lot of milk chocolate. Normally I do get a touch of dark chocolate in a lot of whiskies, especially a lot of Australian whiskies, but this is more of a milk chocolate feel to it. It's got that nice smooth creaminess to it. What else? The peat, the peat. Now, a lot of the times when people have a peated whiskey, you're expecting like a peat bomb. This is not the case in this. The peat is there to accent and complement the rest of the flavors that are developing in the glass. And for me, that's how I love my peat. In general, I love a good peat bomb as much as any other peat head out there. But at the same time, I much prefer when the peat is used to complement the flavor of the spirit itself, and that is definitely something that is going on with this. The main feature of this whiskey is the other notes, the apples, the pears, all the other fruits and spices and things like that. And then the peat comes along and just wraps it up into a neat little bundle, and you're just left with an exceptional, fantastic whiskey. There it is. It's absolutely beautiful. Not really much else I have to say about that. All right, so the oak influence from the cask again, very soft, very gentle. The This is definitely not an over oaked whiskey, especially when you consider that this is an Australian whiskey, bottled at about from I think probably about 2.5 years of age, um, and aged in a very hot and dry climate as well. You would naturally expect a shit ton um, of oak influence, but again, it's not. It's very subtle. I would have to say that the oak influence of this is no more intense than what you would get from a standard bottle of Jack Daniels. It has integrated itself into the spirit absolutely perfectly. And the team at Corowa, I think, have pulled this out of the cask at exactly the right moment. Yeah, they've timed this perfectly. I swear, it's like they must have kept their eye on it. They must have been like, okay, let's get this barrel, try it, not yet, not yet, not yet, and then bam, that's it. Empty that sucker because any more than this and you'll ruin the and you'll ruin the whiskey. They've pulled this at the perfect time. James, you're asking what's the chance of them exporting to the UK? Do you think they have excess capacity? But this is a very small distillery. They don't really do large scale production. Having said that, they are one of few Australian distilleries that uh, actually have a core range, and especially for a small distillery, that is something that is not quite common. Um, a lot of our distilleries, and I think this might also be common with a lot of like US bourbon distilleries as well, that they kind of focus a lot on small batch releases, and then once that finishes, well, that's the end of that line, and they move on to and they just keep a constant flow of like single cask releases. That is kind of the trend of, excuse me, of a lot of Australian distilleries. But Corowa they've got the best balance, I have to say. They've got a core range, and then they complement that core range by releasing exceptional quality single barrel releases. And they don't go releasing a single barrel just because they can. They are literally waiting for the right moment. They they're not rushing anything at all. You can tell that in the quality of their whiskeys. They are absolutely fantastic. Um, but you're saying that, yep, sounds like good cask management, 100%. Uh, mate, you'll have to look. I think it's probably one of those things that you can um, maybe like contact the team at Corowa. I think if you go to their website, um, you should be able to find their contact details there, and you'll be able to, I guess, send an email. I'm sure that maybe some type of arrangement probably can be made to maybe to be able to send you something into the UK. You'll have to ask, man. And obviously, it doesn't hurt to ask. The only thing that I think may kind of restrict it could be the price of the import. I can imagine that it won't be cheap, but you'll have to do some research and find out. Uh, yeah, I'll say even the finish of this at the moment, it's it's there. It's gentle, but it's not intense. It's not punishing. It doesn't repeat on you. I've had some whiskeys, especially some other like peated Islas before, where they're constantly repeating on you. This does not do that. It's very mellow. I'm left with more like notes of vanilla, caramel, vanilla cream again. And there's always that ever present ashy note that comes through as well. This is The balance of this whiskey is absolutely phenomenal. I wish that I was able to get a bottle of this when it was released. At the time, unfortunately, it was out of my price range, and I had to be sensible. But that's why, as well, when I found this, I made sure I snapped up a bottle. Because when I tried that one, I knew I had to have a bottle of that one. Let's finish this. Savor that last moment. I do have a little bit left of the sample, but I think I'm going to save that for another day and just but it's one of those things, I guess, when you really enjoy a whiskey and when you have a bit of time, when you have a moment to yourself, you kind of just want to sit back, relax, unwind, kind of just like how we're doing with this live stream at the moment. This is something that I find, especially when things are going well. I mean, last week's one, stress, my head was about to explode. But this one today has been going very smoothly. It's for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's moving along at a beautiful pace. And I mean, I'm having a good time. So, on that note, as I had mentioned before, the Corowa Single Barrel 32. I will be, I shall pour a little bit of this and I shall sample this for you as well. Now, this one I have actually already reviewed before. So if you are interested in seeing the actual proper review that I've done, I do have a playlist set up on my on this channel, of course, listed under Corowa, and in that playlist, you are able to see the other Corowa whiskies that I have reviewed before in the past. So you have a few bottles going south for Scotch Down Under. I'll ask them on the details and cost. Yep, definitely. Um, Ken is an absolute legend at the moment. The live streams he is doing is just absolutely incredible. I still have no idea how the hell He's able to do that. Seriously, there's been moments where I've gone to bed where he's starting a live stream, and I wake up in the morning and he's still going. He is a machine. Now, this whiskey right here is completely different to its Jack Daniel's finished cousin. I mean, wow, completely different. There is, man, you wouldn't even think that these came from the same distillery. It is amazing how different these actually are. It is absolutely mind blowing. I like to point out the color. I mean, not that it's very important, but that is one thing that I really enjoy about Corowa with their whiskies. They look amazing. So obviously, this has been done in American oak. That's the Jack Daniel's barrel. This one right here, it has been aged in a ex musket cask. Um, so you can see that that cask influence the color from that wine cask in comparison to the bourbon finish. And that's one thing that I'll always give a ton of credit um, to Corowa. All natural colored, non-chill filtered, all natural presentation. And like I said, I just love I guess, the amount of information that they provide on the label as well. So this, now I believe when I reviewed this, I described this as being very similar to a like a Finnish dessert. Now I have a bit of Finnish background from my mum's side of the family, and every Christmas there's this dessert that my uncle makes. That's called giseli, which pretty much is a whole bunch of stewed fruits, usually things like prunes and all those kind of things. I guess maybe being a more Australian version of it, we also throw in things like tinned apricots and peaches, rhubarb, and all that kind of thing as well. It is absolutely beautiful. It's probably one of my favorite things at Christmas time. It definitely helps the Christmas dinner get through the system as well. So I'm sorry, James, to spoil your breakfast. I hope you've finished by this point already. But at the moment, I have to say, I'm getting quite a similar note to what I would get when I nose a blood knock, which I didn't really pick up on that so much before. But the nose is very similar to the blood knock Samsara. So again, I'm getting a whole bunch of those stewed fruits. So again, imagine things like prunes, peaches, apricots, the rhubarb. Again, the rhubarb. This is all of that dessert. Then that's being mixed in with cinnamon, clove, vanilla, white pepper. There's like a dusting of shit. What's it called? Icing sugar. There it goes. It's like a dusting of icing sugar. This is kind of like the scent that I had gotten when having a beignet in New Orleans. That was an experience. You go to the Cafe du Monde in New Orleans, and I swear it looks like it's like an outdoor cafe that's being blasted with cocaine. There is that much icing sugar everywhere. It's like people are having a coke party. You get a subtle oaky cask influence coming through, and there is a really nice earthy influence to it as well that I'm really enjoying. It really is a very sweet nose. All right, let's get on to the palate. I think once I finish this once I finish this whiskey, I'll probably call it an end for the live stream for tonight. I'll keep it short. Um, but let's move on to the palate. So fruity. It is such a fruity whiskey. 55% ABV. This one, I have to say at the moment, this one is probably packing a bit more of a punch um, than what the 242 did. Um, you will definitely notice a lot more of the spirit or the alcohol vapors coming up. Excellent mouthfeel, exactly the same as what I got on the 242 single barrel. Thick, syrupy, nice and prickly, tons of white pepper, and that's one thing that I always love that note in a whiskey is that white pepper influence. Tons of apple, pears, again the citrus. You're getting what's it called, the orange rind, a touch of like lime sourness. What else? Lots of cinnamon, cloves. It's a very spicy and fruity whiskey. It is very much like a fruit pie with all those. So imagine like a fruit pie fillings with all of those spices that go into it. The lots of caramel as well. So it's got this nice sugary sweetness that just complements the all those flavors and all the cask influence as well. Excuse me. So you're saying no worries. I have the Vinaya from Bloodknock and New Make. It might be a new direction they're going in. Very much could be. I remember when I first tried the Samsara, I was almost off put at first by the nose. I had gone to a liquor store and I had seen it on the shelf, and the guy that was working at the counter noticed me looking at it, and he was like, "Mate, would you like to try it?" He goes, "We recently did a tasting, and I have the bottle available. Would you like to try it?" And I said, "Sure, of course." I mean, you're going into a bottle store, someone's offering you to try a whiskey. I mean, you're not going to say no, are you? So while he was getting all the things ready, I was walking around the shop, seeing what else they had available, and he opened the cork on the bottle. Now, at this time, I was standing a couple of meters away from the table, and I don't know, there must have been like a bit of a breeze that came my way, but I could smell the whiskey instantly. And I'm thinking, what the hell is that? And I'm thinking, it smelled horrible at first. I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to enjoy this whiskey? But I thought, you know what, screw it. Let's take a chance. I tried it. I went up, I tried the whiskey, I fell in love with it. I bought a bottle of it there and then. And again, that's the advantage of being able to try before you buy. But again, what I'm trying to, again, in a long way of saying what I'm getting at is that I found that the Bloodknock Samsara is very heavy on those types of, say, figs, prunes, and stewed fruits. It does have a lot more, I guess, a bit more of like a rotten essence to it. Definitely in comparison to this. This doesn't smell rotten. This just smells like stewed fruits. Um, but there is that similarity in flavor. James, if you're able to, mate, definitely look in. I reckon contact the team at Corowa. get onto their website, ask them if they are able um, to send overseas. Because unfortunately, they are a very small scale distillery, and again, like a lot of Australian distilleries, again, where they're very small, and their main focus is selling within Australia. They really don't make enough to be able to handle an overseas distribution. As much as I would love to, again, that is one of the main reasons why I focus so heavily on reviewing Australian whiskies on my channel, and that is to be able to share what we have, say, with the rest of the world. I mean, yes, there are plenty of channels that focus on say Scotch and bourbon, and a lot of those same whiskies are available in practically every country. But when it comes to Australian whiskies, you might only be able to get things like Starward, Lime Burners, Helier Road, and we have so much more than that. And I just love being able to share what we have and to be able to spread more of an awareness of the quality of Australian whiskey that we have. Yes, it's young, but it's fantastic. It really is. We have some fantastic high quality whiskey that really it challenges everything else from around the world. I think if more of our whiskies were to be able were say entered into a lot of the like the main whiskey competitions, the business here would absolutely boom. I reckon we would knock out a lot of the competition, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an Aussie. I'm literally saying that because the quality of our product it really is exceptional. Did I catch Roy's stream last night? No, unfortunately, I didn't. Why did he mention something about Australian whiskey at all, or unfortunately, I didn't. I wasn't able to catch his live stream. Again, this is just one of those whiskeys that you just want to sit and savor with. Um, it's a perfect. Ironically enough, this is a brilliant wintertime whiskey. That high ABV definitely keeps you warm for the winter time. Um, but having said that, even moving into the summertime, it's fruity. It's not exactly a light style of whiskey. It does have a certain heaviness to it, but I think if you were to have it over ice or make a highball out of this, it'll be quite an expensive highball, but I think it will definitely be a very enjoyable one. That's for sure. Um, Definitely made for all types of Australian weather. Okay, well, that's the end of that one. I think better hydrate. But I think that's about it for now. I think we're coming up to the hour mark, and I think I've pretty much covered what I wanted to do. Uh, like I say, saying no personal hobby for tasting specific kinds was on from Ireland. Ah, okay, yeah. It's amazing how um, the little footsteps that you can take to get into the industry. I know for I'd say a perfect example is my friend Greg from Greg's Whiskey Guide. Uh, Greg is from France, and he really started coming up into the YouTube scene very early on before a lot of other channels were starting off, uh, doing his own blogs as well, and getting into and really getting into the local whiskey scene. He really got himself out there, built up a lot of contacts, and even now he's been able to help distilleries with their blending and things like that. And it's an incredible journey for him. The fact that um, you can take something like this that has started off as something as simple as a hobby, and there are people out there that value your opinion enough that they're willing to have you help them to produce their whiskey. And I think that is it's a great honor, to have somebody put that faith into you, or faith in you, I should say. But yeah, I think that's it. I really, again, I don't have much else to say. Um, I'll think I'm gonna leave it at that now. This has been an exceptionally fun and enjoyable live stream. I've been very relaxed. I think it's helped to make this so well, like free flowing. James, thank you for sticking out this long with me. It has been fantastic to read your comments throughout this, and to I hope that you've enjoyed this, and that you are able to get your hands on one of these, or as many of these little beauties as you can. And then that way you can start spreading the word of how awesome these are over in the UK. So I'm going to leave it there. Uh, to anybody who may be watching this afterwards, please, if you have not yet subscribed, please be sure to hit that bell notification and the subscription button. I appreciate all the support that I get, and the more subs that I get for the channel definitely helps me be able to share the fantastic products that we have down here and help to expose them to a wider market. So thank you, for all of you who have been watching this as I've been going along, and thank you for all those who watch this in the replay later. I will see you all again next time. Hopefully, sometime next week. I've got another whiskey right there, and an Australian whiskey that I've been meaning to review for a long time, that I've got a sample of. And yeah, I'll definitely be reviewing that next. Hopefully, I'll do that next week. And in general, stay tuned for whichever like random whiskey review comes up in the future. So, yep, I'll see you all again next time. Give peace.